Greetings, surviving humans. This is part 5 of my trans refugee journey vlog. Okay, so I have some good news and some weird news, not necessarily bad news. Just very weird news, and I'll go ahead and give you guys a heads up if I may end up. Well, I'm going to talk about emotional abuse, and I am going to possibly get into the topic of, well, I'll just say suicide, because this isn't monetized. I don't want it monetized. I don't care. I'm going to read, I'm looking at my cat. I'm going to read a Facebook post I made that basically talks about a weird phone call I got from my mother. The background is that basically the night I escaped, I sent her a text message that would have been very late for her, but for me it would have been like 11 or 12 o'clock at night, after I had come in and the cats were situated and I was unpacked enough to, you know, go to bed and shit. Long flight and everything. Yeah, so it would have been wee hours in the morning for her, and I basically said, you know, hey, I arrived safe at my destination. I'm, you know, still alive. I'm in one piece, you know, that kind of thing. And she basically replied by making it about herself. Most parents, if their child suddenly leaves, regardless of their age, without notice, I had to because I was escaping. I wasn't leaving, but if their child were to do that, they might have a reaction like, I don't know what you're doing, or I don't like what you're doing, but if you ever need a place to land, or if you ever have an emergency or something like that, call me. They would try to maintain some kind of contact. They would at least say, hey, the avenues for communication are open on my end, if nothing else. What she said to me was, don't ever come back, or you've disrespected me for the last time. Don't ever come back unless it's to get your stuff. And I responded with okay, because I don't ever intend to go back. I have had nightmares about, I'll just say, my family of origin chasing me down. One of which was a rather ridiculous nightmare about my family of origin hiring Chinese spies to chase me down across the country. It's very bizarre. It was an adventure, but it was not good. I really never want to go back again, unless it is to actually get my stuff, but I am prepared to leave my stuff forever. Yes, the sentimental stuff. There's a lot of sentimental stuff. But, so, her reaction was to say, you've disrespected me for the last time. Don't ever come back unless it's to get your stuff. So she made it about her, as she always does. I am not surprised, except to say that she never fails to prove to me that she isn't a very good person. It's just like all the time. I did do a voluntary stay at a mental health facility that was not evidence-based. It was pretty awful. It was quite dangerous for a queer person. And I told my mother a little bit of that experience because I knew that she would lean hard into how I was mistreated there and use it against me. But what she had done is, so I won't even call him my brother because he doesn't act like it. So I don't know what to call him. My not brother attacked me. Now, what he threw at me apparently turned out to be a roll of cellophane and an empty beer can. But I was criticized for calling 911 when he was running at me, throwing these things at me. I apparently should have done a thorough analysis of what he was throwing at me or something. I don't know. Suffice it to say, though, I was being attacked. And Mom said something like, if you ever call 911, you don't call 911 unless someone is trying to kill you. Because you have to have you have to assess whether or not they're trying to kill you, and then if they are, stop and call 911, right? I don't know why. Well, I do know she's an abuser. She does not want me to advocate for myself. She wants me to be abused, hence why she abuses me. Also, she threatened, if you call 911 on us again, you'll be right back in that institution. Which, I'm an adult. She doesn't have guardianship over me. I know that it would be a very long and arduous process for her to commit me. However, she used it as a threat if I did not allow one of them to do violence toward me, knowing full well that that was not that institution was not a safe environment. And so basically she used it as a threat. If I should advocate for myself, if one of them should be physically attacking me again. And that was a moment that is like, I knew she's emotionally abusive because I've been emotionally abused all my life. I knew she was a cruel person. I knew she was the sort of person who can't even see past her own nose. Now, granted, with anti-trans laws coming down the pipe the way that they are, granted, Georgia doesn't have some of the very worst, but I'm still saying we like I lived there. They do have Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they do have that other Candace lady who is now a flat earther and who was banging on about how the Georgia Guidestones are satanic, and lo and behold, some Yahoo bombed them at 4 a.m. or some such deal. Those are, well, they may be senators, not representatives, but those are two people who have been voted to represent Georgia citizens in actual factual government. So it's possible that were my mother trying to commit me, she might, have the fortune of getting a very transphobic judge and have me committed lickety-split to another facility or the same facility that is not evidence-based and that frankly is dangerous for queer people. So that wasn't a Facebook post, but I'm going to read you the Facebook post telling her about telling you about a phone call that she made to me. I believe it was it Thursday? It was Wednesday or Thursdays. Yeah, It was earlier this week. And it was a weird one. It was a weird out of the blue phone call. She didn't want contact with me. I'm okay with that. So I figured from here on in, say goodbye to my shit and work on getting new shit. Because them's the breaks. Now, if I should find myself in a situation fortunate enough where I can go back and get my shit, then I'm convening with friends, I'm renting my own trailer, I'm staying in a hotel, I'm planning, and I will give my family of origin as short a notice as is probably reasonable. You know, call on Thursday and say I'll be there Saturday morning to get my stuff, you know, something like that. Or call on Friday morning and say I'll be there on Saturday morning to get my stuff. Shit like that. Get, you know, have a trailer there. Don't go in until I'm getting my stuff. Have all of us go in. Lickety split. Boom, boom, boom. Get only the stuff that I want. The rest can just be the rest. And stay there. But I'm not even thinking that far ahead as far as I'm not even thinking that's going to happen. I'm more thinking about if I can save up the money, there's a friend in Reno I'd like to visit. So maybe like next spring or something, if I have a place to live on my own, if I have money, if I'm established in this state, it'd be great to be able to go and visit a friend out in Reno. Wonderful. It'd be nice too to there's a couple of friends out in Maryland I'd like to take a flight out and go see. But again, this involves saving money that I don't even yet have. And yeah. And I'm thinking about that kind of stuff long before I'm thinking about going back to Georgia and getting my shit. So anyway. So Mom didn't want contact with me. She didn't get it. That's fine. No skin off my back. I thought out. It's funny. I heard a couple of people who were trapped in an abusive cult. And I won't go into the details because I don't want to get into arguments in my comments here. But they said when they left, they wanted to look back and they wanted to miss their families. But they didn't and couldn't. And I was the same way. I didn't look back at my house. When I left, I didn't know what to say to my family. So I just said so long and thanks for all the fish. Because I didn't want to say anything endearing. They're not dear to me. However, I didn't want to be an ass and just be like, fuck you assholes, you're horrible people. And I mean, if I'm walking the fuck out and not returning, that already says everything I need to say. In the best revenge is living well, at least in this case anyway. So then she calls me. It would have been a couple of weeks later. Yeah, so she calls me a couple of weeks later from when I'd escaped. See, I don't like saying left, I like saying escaped. And I made a Facebook post about it. And now I have to go find it again for some reason. But it's not far. And I thought it wasn't far. Well, I'm sorry. This sucks. Well, this is weird. There it is. See more. Okay, so I'm going to read a post to you that I posted on Facebook about this ridiculous phone call. And I'm reading it to you because it it kind of typifies emotional abuse. It's a few paragraphs. And I may stop to comment in between. I may not. This video is probably going along a bit of a... This video is probably a little longer than it needs to be anyway. Okay, so here we go. Mom called today. Wow, it was unexpected as anything, of course. She didn't apologize for her last text message, which was all about her, of course. You've disrespected me for the last time, then told me not to return unless it's to get my stuff. I said okay and never responded. I said okay and never responded. Well, my response was the okay. Anyway. So today she called, and I generally let her know I'm in City Redacted because it's YouTube. Actually, no, it's a big enough city. I let her know I'm in San Francisco and let her know I wasn't homeless and that I got approved for SSDI and SSI, and generally let her know that I had a plan. The first thing she did was ask me for my address. When I said no and let her know I'd get a P.O. box, and she insisted, I said, when I have enough money, I'll get a P.O. box and I'll let you know. I forgot what she said next, but I remember ending the call by saying, I'm not going to fight with you, but thanks for calling. I need to go. I should not have thanked her. I'm conditioned to be the empathetic adult that she wasn't. I can and will change my mind about telling her about the P.O. box. Oh, when I told her I'm living with a friend, she asked who, and I said, I'm not going to tell you. This is also weird. I won't call her back. It's like now that she knows I'm doing better than she told me I'd do, and that's general, that like she always told me that I'd be a failure, essentially, whether it was directly or indirectly, mostly indirectly, but yeah, moving on. Let's see, told me to do, she's trying to worm her way back into my life. Well, she is, because she's an abuser. Well, as I said, I'm not going to call her. Should things improve, I might text her a P.O. box address, but I don't think that will happen. Apparently the post office sent mail to that address asking me to confirm my address, but it was dated a while ago. I finished the confirmation via email, so I'm good, but since she knows I live in San Francisco, she could use the confirmation code and try all the local zip codes, but then she's also lazy. It's likely that I'm best off just blocking her number and leaving behind my possessions for good. Okay. The reason I wanted to read all that is because now it's been a couple of days. Let's see when this is dated. Well, when is this dated? Well, there's 6 comments. Let's see. One day. This is literally a day ago. So if today is Saturday, this was Friday. So if I posted about, yeah, it would be nice to have the time, because I don't remember if this was like Thursday or Friday that she called. But anyway, there it is. And the reason I read all that is to demonstrate the mentality of an abuser, an emotional abuser. She's not saying, clearly, if you left the way that you did, escaped, there's a problem. I fucked up, or you're in crisis, or something, and I would like to get to the bottom of it because I care about you. So you are free to communicate with me as you please. However, you're also free not to communicate. I care about you, whatever. But that's obviously not what she was doing. She was trying to find out information and doing it in a way such that she was not respecting my boundaries, and she was trying to put me in a place where I was justifying not telling her, like she is entitled to it, rather than her justifying why she ought to know, or telling me even just why she wants to know. This is a person who daily, and I'm talking about this because I want the information out there. This is I mean, whether or not the screaming had anything to do with being trans, my being trans, I have no fucking clue. I had given up trying to figure out what was going on in her head ages ago. Because, you know, like when I was 5, 6, 7, I was already trying to help her and regulate her emotions, because one, she would tell me that I'm too sensitive. That's a very common line among all abusers. You shouldn't feel that way. You're overreacting, blah, 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 blah. I was not allowed my emotions, but her emotions and her fluctuating moods ruled the roost. And I was kind of, metaphorically speaking, running after her, trying to help her, and orienting myself toward her emotions and her moods and what she thought were needs. And I didn't know when she was going to be in crisis and when she was not going to be. And when she was in crisis, it was over something wildly disproportional. It wasn't over, we're getting evicted, now I'm in crisis, I don't know what to do, I guess I better talk with another adult. It was, I'm in crisis, it's Tuesday, and if you got down to the reason, it would be, it wouldn't even be, I forgot to, blah, blah, blah. It would be, you didn't remind me to, blah, blah, blah. You know, even though she was the mom, and of course kids would forget things. You know, it was always someone else's fault. And it was so hardcore as far as always someone else's fault. But she would say, you always put the blame on other people. Pot calling kettle black projection, right? So, yeah, so every day, just about. Now, this wasn't always true that she was a yeller, but this wasn't true that she would yell every day, but it had gotten to the point where she yelled every day. My brother and her were gotten daily screaming matches. Now, the bad, horrid far-right politics that have come down the pipe lately has made it very much worse. It was already bad, but it got to the point where my not mother and not my egg donor and my not brother were having screaming matches every day over things like whether Trump or DeSantis should be president, or why the Democrats are staging a false flag and making it look like an insurrection, the January 6th insurrection coup attempt that they think it wasn't actually. I mean, just add the far-right politics into emotional abuse already. So when my mother screamed, it's Tuesday. It is what it is. And whatever her crisis was, somebody else, probably me, somebody else ate the last of the chip dip. A proportional response might be to knock on my door and say, you ate the last of the chip dip without telling me. I barely got any of the chip dip. I really would have liked the chip dip. Or at the very least, left a note. I really like it. When are you going to the store next? Because when next you walk to the store, I'd really like it if you bought another thing of chip dip, because I didn't get enough of it. I hardly got any of it. And I'm this sort of person who, like, I would very easily go tell her, hey, I ate the last of the chip dip. I'm going to the store today, so I'm going to buy 2 tubs instead of 1. Well, containers, cartons, whatever you want to call it, instead of 1. And, I mean, if somebody was upset, oh, okay, well, I would hope that you don't just eat the last again or something. But, yeah, I went a chip dip last night. I don't know. Normal people response. Her response to anything very mild like that would be to yell, to assume motives, to turn it into some grand conspiracy. Yeah, but to turn it into some wild, evil plot with like the worst possible motives that somehow ties into every failing, real or imagined, on my part, and yell like the people in space need to hear it, because she believes there are people in space that are like aliens that are running the government. She's gonna yell so they can hear it, I guess. So, yeah. That was, and this was on the daily. And if it didn't happen daily, it might happen 5 out of 7 days a week. And I'm not exaggerating. Now, I'm being a little silly when I say, well, she's trying to yell loud enough for the space aliens, but I'm not exaggerating when I say she believes that there's a secret program, and that a secret space program, and that reptilian space aliens are running the government, and that somehow, not the Republicans for some reason, and this is something that my not family would fight about, my family of origin, my foo, whatever you want to call them. I would like to find an intentional family. I would like to find a family that loves me for who I am. But that's a different journey, But it's part of the queer experience, having to escape or being thrown out of your family of origin. I mean, this is the kind of shit that results from the family values people. And the reason I'm telling you all this is to let you know that those family values people, they don't value families. They don't value families. My Southern's coming out, but I've lived all over the country. I have a lot of dialects. It's like whatever. And also the internet for a long time was my window to the rest of the world. So I listen to a lot of people from a lot of different countries because I like different perspectives, whether it's I want to learn about your food, or I want to learn about your politics, I want to learn about your religion, I want to learn about your history, I want to learn about different languages and different dialects. Like, how does English in India differ from English in the Bronx, differ from English in Anchorage, Alaska, etc. I mean, anyway, moving on. So the internet being my window to the world, I think I've picked up, say, a few Britishisms, and I've just picked up a few things that I wouldn't necessarily have picked up without the internet. So, what dialect of English do I speak? I don't know. About a dozen. And I'm okay. I think mostly it's going to be some kind of Southern, but whatever. So, yeah. So, one reason why I'm doing this trans refugee blog anyway, even though I'm not directly talking about being trans and directly talking about bigotry in this particular entry, I believe this is entry 5, is because if there's a Jane and Joe average conservative who's like, just, I don't want my tax dollars going to waste kind of person, you need to realize that at the very, very least, the social conservatives don't value families. You need to, I'm paying attention to a kitty. There's a cat. There's a cat, and I have to pet the cat. For he is my cat. And there are many like it. there are many like him. But this is mine. Well, whatever. I'm not going to try and find him. He's under the chair, I think. So, yeah, they don't value families, and this isn't directly anti-trans bigotry, but I would say after 2016, but it was more 2017, 2018, and heavy into 2020, where my not mother especially, dove hardcore into the anti-vax, pandemic, all kinds of conspiracy theories involving COVID, and that snowballed into a whole lot of other conspiracy theories. She was already a conspiracy theorist, but this just, she would keep track of Glenn Beck and his blackboard nonsense, blaming things on George Soros. You know what I mean? It's so odd because, okay, genetic test apparently a DNA test I got told me I'm in the Middle Eastern ad group, said that we have a little bit of Ashkenazi Jew in there, and a whole lot of Russian on my mom's side. It's starting to look like, I'm not going to claim to be Jewish because I am not anywhere near the culture. I know nothing of Judaism. Well, I know a little bit because I've gone online and like, oh, well, this is interesting. I want to learn about other people, like I said. But I've never had any kind of mitzvah. I've never been to a synagogue. Now I would love to actually go to a synagogue just to learn. I'd love to maybe take an online class or a real life class. Echo's talking, which is different. That's what they name Google over here. But I would love to learn more about Judaism. But my mother, is leaning heavy into these libel blood myths, knowing full well we probably have a fair bit of Jewish ancestry in there somewhere. And the Russian is we got a lot of Russian, and it's pretty recent, and a lot of Ashkenazi Jews did immigrate from Russia. And if I'm in the Middle Eastern ad group, now don't get me wrong, we have a lot of Scottish, we have a lot from the Iberian Peninsula, that's stuff on my dad's side, but Mom, you're probably pretty freaking Jewish. What are you doing? But here we are. Here we are. There's a lot of libel blood myths going around, disguised as other stuff, and I don't know what that music is. But if you can hear it, if you can't. It's probably a good time to end this blog, because that's really distracting, and I don't want to wake up. Well, yeah, okay. I don't want to divulge anyone's identities or locations or anything of that nature. I do want to show you my shirt. I bought this shirt. It says, "I am a mixtape." I bought this shirt because it's the sort of thing that wearing around in my house, if nothing else, I'd get really dirty looks. I'd get really angry, dirty looks, and it'd be like, well, you can wear it, but I don't want to be seen with you when you're in that shirt, or something like that. Something real messed up, passive-aggressive. I think I may have disturbed somebody, hence the loud-ass music, so, yeah. Oh, man. So I'm just going to leave you with I'm just gonna leave you with this. This has been a log vlog entry, and kind of solemn. You know, my last one was very happy and stuff, and I'm happy now because I'm happy to be away from all that shit. But by and large, conservative politicians aren't out for your well-being. We have a crumbling infrastructure. We have climate change. We have minimum wage that has not met up with inflation in something like a decade. I forget exactly. We got a lot of real problems. And meanwhile, since the late 70s, hardcore social conservatives, the moral majority types, have been appointing right-wing judges. And again, we have this projection. Oh, the left, they're putting in their activist judges, right? Well, the right's been putting in their activist judges too. And you have organizations like Judicial Watch or the Heritage Foundation, Turning Point USA, like all these kind of organizations that have been working hardcore, especially to put in conservative judges, because now, look what they did. Roe v. Wade has been reversed by the Supreme Court. So yeah, they're more interested in whinging about transgender people and drag queens and abortion, even though Jane and Joe, average conservative, now the statistics bear out that Jane and Joe, average conservative, are pro-choice. They might be pro-choice, but X, Y, or Z, fine. But Jane and Joe conservative are pro-choice. Cool. So, but the far right, the conservatives in power, they're not for your well-being. They're not for your kids' well-being. They don't care about your children. Actually, they're not there protecting your children. They're not. Yeah, and oh gosh, I'm going to, as far as the economy, I'm going to just recommend a channel called Unlearn Economics. If you're keen on dense 3-hour-long video essays, yeah, good channel for you. But it's a good idea to unlearn some of these basic myths that we've been told about welfare queens. You want to talk about welfare queens? Look into corporate welfare. You want to talk about how most people earn their millions? It's not through hard work. So I don't know what time it is. It sounds like it's too late for me to be vlogging, actually. So I should stop. Just be aware, and I'm not saying Democrats are great. Democrats are corporatists too. But being anti-fascist is not far left. Antifa is not one overarching organization that is a terrorist organization also. No, Antifa is just short for anti-fascist, and some Antifa members and some Antifa organizations are going to do things with which we disagree and others are not. Hi, I'm Antifa. I'm anti-fascist. I'm doing this vlog because I am anti-fascist. I want to let you know that the conservatives aren't penny pinching and watching your money and protecting your kids. They are targeting your kids. They are targeting marginalized people. They have been reducing social services, social safety nets that would help people to get in states of independence and would help people who well and truly genuinely need the help, because so many of them do. The cheats tend to be on the corporate end, like health insurance companies cheating Medicare as opposed to individuals cheating Medicare. Things like that. So, just unlearn a lot of the myths that you've learned, please. Especially about poor people. Yeah. I really am going to stop, because this has become a rant. And I'm ranting not because I hate you, Jane and Joe conservatives. Some of you I hate. Some of you I'd like to punch in the face. But the rest of you, no. Because the rest of you aren't hateful people. The rest of you are falling for bullshit. And here's a cat. And I'm wondering if he's going to be in the... No. Here, I'll show you. Ignore my monitor. There we go. Okay. So, thanks for watching. And as I always say, follow the Raven's route.